Hey everybody, welcome back to Mary Bird's Backyard Garden. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mary.
You like how we do the I'm Jeff and I'm Mary? We do that every time. It's kind of fun though, isn't it?
It's a little bit fun.
It is kind of fun.
It's kind of a signal to get going.
It is.
Signal to get your brain cells
I kind of hit the same thing every time. It's kind of a, I'm shocked at myself, to be honest with you.
I'm a little surprised at that too.
Yeah. So, Mary.
Yes.
What's
Jeff.
going on? What's happening? What's new in the garden?
It's gardening season like we talked about before.
It is.
It has been hot though. It's been H-O-T.
Yeah, where did our cool Texas weather go from like 2 weeks ago when we were loving it?
I don't know.
I miss it.
But it has been very hot.
It's really hot.
Just
I know.
crazy. The front of our house, because it's positioned where it looks straight towards the eastern sun, it is a broiler out there in the front. It's very hard to work in the front garden.
It is. You can't do it too long because it hits it in the morning. So
It does. Why is that? It's like amazingly hot.
It is very hot, and I miss the nice cool 70s. What were we, like 70s for?
We were.
Oh, come back. It'll be back before we know it. No, not before we know it, but it'll be back, but it might be a while.
We'll have a nice little cool down here pretty soon. Hope.
But you have been out in the garden. You've been doing some stuff.
We worked hard in the garden this week.
We did. We did do a nice garden day. We had yesterday
and today, and we did a little bit of ordering. We ordered some soil, and we filled up one of the raised beds that we're putting in.
We did.
Yeah, and I love it. I'm getting very excited about planting it up.
Yeah, looks good. I mean, the dirt looks good.
The dirt looks beautiful.
Looking good. Got a good dirt going in there.
Good dirt.
I like it.
And let's see what else. We did a lot of weeding. This is that time of year. Get in there and weed.
Yep.
It's time to do the last really good pruning of your shrubbery and things that you want to get set before winter. Here in Zone 9A, I'm talking about if you are farther north, your time might have passed you by.
No way.
You may not
hey,
want
you know
to do
what?
that
I do
now.
have to tell you, we have an uncle. I have an uncle that lives in New York, in New York State. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he had told me, and I'm very jealous. He said, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it. It was like we woke up one day and it was fall. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
Because he was shocked. He said, how is your gardening kind of winding down? And I said, well, no, not even. Here in Texas, it's 90 degrees. I said, Mary's got a whole fall garden going. She's getting ready to do. So we have a whole nother season. But he had told me that the leaves are starting to turn. But, it's the middle, almost the end of September. But, oh, gosh, that would be lovely.
You can actually see it in the sycamore trees around our area. Sycamore trees are kind of one of the first ones that begin their fall leaf shed. And you can kind of tell. I think it has to do with the day length.
Yeah.
And so there is fall in the air, Jeffrey. It is there, I promise.
Well, I'm not seeing it, personally. But, he said it's dark by 7 o'clock and all that. So we're not there. We're not there here in Texas. But, on the bright side, we do have a much longer growing season. So you can play in the garden a lot longer.
That's right. Sure can. I love it.
And that's what I told him. I said, Mary's doing gardening stuff.
Still in there.
Yeah.
Still in the mix.
So what else have you been doing? I know we got the dirt. You put the dirt in there. Mm-hmm. And
harvested a lot of okra.
Oh, you did.
Okra plant.
Dang okra plant.
I'm going to tell you, the stems on that okra plant are like, I would say, a good 2.5 inches in diameter. They are huge, massive. And so, I did a cutback, remember, during the really hot part of the year, and it flushed out again, and it has blooms every day, and I'm getting okra every single day.
Yeah, those are. I was surprised that there was so much. And then I know that we had one really big vine that we've been letting go because the dogs like to go and make a fort under it. But I think I saw you cutting that back today too.
Well, the tendrils wrap themselves around our rose that we have planted there, and that's fine. they won't really hurt it right now while the tendrils are green and pliable, but they're really going to, it's an annual morning glory vine. And so when it dries out and dies for the winter, I think that it's going to cause the rose bush to have problems in growing. So I wanted to get it off of there.
Hey, get it off my roses.
Get it off of your rose.
Guy.
It's a Westmoreland rose. It's one of your favorites that has orange blossoms.
Yes.
Yeah.
The vine was cool. We'll have to do that again next year in somewhere and maybe another, I don't know, maybe in the same place. But it was cool. It grew really fast and very full. It was really cool looking.
Wait till you see where the seed is sprouted from the ground. The trunk on the thing is huge.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty amazing.
Nice.
Like a giant rope.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. So what else have we done in the garden this week?
Well, you did stuff in the garden. I mowed the lawn, did the the normal stuff,
the
lawn mowing
hard labor.
There you go. I did the hard labor, mowing and edging and all that stuff. So, yeah.
We had a few weeds to pull, and they were so tough. Some of those weeds were so tough. I had to get Jeff to come over. I said, "Put your back into it." See if we can get them
there
up.
were some big ones there.
They were huge.
They were kind of cool looking ones, but they were definitely weeds.
Yep.
So we have started the process. We're kind of getting everything going for fall and getting it all cleaned up a little bit.
Yep.
Very nice.
And this past gardening season worked out pretty nice. Although we did, you always work in the garden. That's part of the joy, part of the headache or whatever, but we didn't do as much weeding this year as we have in previous years. So it worked out nice.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is getting better. When we first moved, there was a lot of weeding. There's weeding to do, but it's not as much. So.
Not as much.
That's good. That's a testament to your growing.
What else? What else is good in the garden? The flowers have all begun their fall bloom cycle, and you could see it throughout the whole neighborhood. The lantana is it's the yellow flower that we walk by a lot.
There you go. Thank you.
Golden lantana is just gorgeous. The rock rose has been beautiful, and also with the reopening of lots of flowers, we've had so many pollinators.
Yeah, we did. Still cool that we get the big bumblebees. Because, for the first few years, I never saw them. And last year, a little bit, and this year, a lot.
A lot.
Which is really cool. The big, pretty giant. Lots of butterflies, too.
Oh, man. I think it's the swallowtail. Oh, my gosh, they're gorgeous.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. Yeah. Kind of cool. Cool time of year. If it just get cooler, it would even be better.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, it is wishful. All right.
Anything else?
I think that's
you have on
all I got for the what's new.
New section.
I know you got some topics or a topic. What is it you want to talk about today?
Actually, I'm enthusiastic about those bumblebees that you were just mentioning.
Oh, okay.
We went into the backyard. We cruised through the backyard. Well, actually, what happened was I wanted to take photos. I generally take photos every day, but this one specific day, I was taking photos of a hibiscus that had an unusual purple flower. The purple was like neon. And so there was a bumblebee in the middle of it, and this bee was covered with pollen. I mean, his entire being was covered with pollen. Wow. And he was so cute. And so it just, caused a little spark of interest. And I thought I'd find out a little bit more about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
well, I'm interested. Yeah.
Them. And, okay. So I was quite interested to learn that we have a good number of bumblebees. Like Texas has 9 native bumblebee varieties in our state alone. And so I thought that was, pretty interesting. I didn't know about that. And we have about 1,000 different varieties of the bee family. Not all bumblebees, of course.
Yeah.
And those are native. So we all know that when the settlers came over from Europe, many of them brought honeybees with them. And so we do have a large population of honeybees, and people do bring them. If they have a hive and they collect the honey from them and they bring them to different farms to pollinate crops and so forth. And so they are pretty prevalent in the United States, but we do have a large variety of native bees.
Okay.
And the thing that I was very intrigued to learn about is we actually have a native, well, I can't say that we have it. The Americas have a native honeybee. And as far back as the Mayan and Aztec civilizations, honey and the wax were valuable trading, what would you say, an exchange, not monetary, but it was a valuable
it's like as money, being used as money,
to trade.
Or trade,
in those civilizations, which that is just very
That's pretty
interests
cool.
me. And the honeybee that we had native in the Americas was not a stinging honeybee. It didn't have a sting to it, which I like that, But so here I want to say that a bumblebee, one of the things I learned, they are not honeybees. They are larger, and there are a couple larger type bees that people often get confused. One of them is a carpenter bee.
Okay.
And you could distinguish between a bumblebee and a carpenter bee because the carpenter bee is going to have a hairless black abdomen and sometimes shiny-ish looking. And the bumblebee can have yellow and black type stripes, or they might have a larger yellow, larger black patterning, different patternings, but they're hairy. So the little bee that we found in the flowers, definitely a bumblebee because he was covered. He had hair everywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking a lot of the ones we've seen around here are bumblebees.
You knew that already.
I didn't know that,
told you,
but...
remember I said, I think those might be mason bees, which they're not. That was one thing I learned.
Well, they look like bumblebees. I mean, what can I say?
So they do have an annual life cycle. The bumblebee has to complete its egg, larval, and then progress on to its adult life cycle all within 1 year. Okay. Compared to a honeybee, they live for longer than that. I do think that the queen may live longer than a year. But...
Interesting.
Yeah. They're probably like, how big would you say they were? Like, they're pretty big. They're like
big.
An inch,
inch and a half. Yeah, some are bigger than others. Yeah, they're little. They're definitely an inch.
So it's very interesting. I liked learning about this because we're always interested in pollinators, and our native bees, along with other pollinators, are very important to us because bees are responsible for pollinating about 30% of our fruit, vegetable, and nut crops. They rely on the bee more than you would rely on a moth or a butterfly or hummingbird or something like that because those pollinators flit about, and they will go to a nut tree and then to a sunflower or to a cotton crop, or I don't know. They don't go to specific crops so that the pollen doesn't go from one plant to another, whereas the bee actually does that very thing. They will help the pollen travel from the squash to squash to squash to squash,
wow, I didn't know that.
instead of, squash to corn to everything. And some native bees are generalists, so they will find their pollen and nectar where they find it, but some are specific to a certain type of plant or flower that blooms at that specific time. And so their life cycles are really tied in with when those flowers are in bloom, which is
That's interesting.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. A lot of our bees nest in the ground. They're either ground or they nest in the mason bees, and some of the other bees will nest in a twig or a reed or a little straw that they could plug up. But lots of them are actually ground nesters, but and then they'll do a burrow, and it might be 6 inches to 2 feet going in and out in the ground, and they'll lay the eggs and cap it over with their wax.
Wow. Very interesting.
So I did learn, this is interesting, so a bee will have his nest and then he will forage outward from where that nest is. And I learned that they would travel large bees, probably, how big is a football field? 100 yards? So they might travel between 1 and 6 football field lengths to forage for their food. And they are so tiny to go that far, right? But, that's pretty good.
So the ones we're seeing in the garden, they've got to have their nest, they've got to be somewhere close then, right?
Fairly close.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
And they're the kind that nest in the ground.
I mean, that's why we've seen more and more. Maybe they've been starting to nest in the area, because we've definitely seen more this year than last. And, last year before, more than the year before. So
right.
They're showing up, which is cool.
Our neighbors' yards are also getting to be more mature right now.
That's true.
And having more food for them and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So
nice. I like it. Yeah, it's cool.
And maybe because we emphasize we do look for native plants in our area. We look for things that are recommended by the centers as doing quite well. We put out the wildflower seed. We did our pocket prairie. Mm-hmm. And maybe those steps have encouraged more of the native species to come in.
Good. I like that.
Which I like it too. This is so interesting. A bee actually has 3 eyes on the very top of its head. They have simple eyes. They're called simple eyes. And the ones on the top of his head, they see in shades of gray. But then they have the other eyes that are on, that we would look at and say, those are the eyes. Those eyes see in the UV spectrum. So if they are looking, which we always think about planting yellow flowers, right? And I was just talking about the golden lantana that's blooming right now. But the bee actually sees it as a shade of blue.
Oh, wow.
They don't see yellows and maybe oranges. I don't know. But I thought that was something.
That's interesting.
Interesting to learn.
I did not
about.
know they had additional
They do.
eyes.
Yes. And they are called simple eyes.
Simple eyes.
On top of their heads.
All right.
Yeah. So what else did I learn about? Oh, this is something very interesting. So there are plants like a tomato plant, and pollination occurs on the tomato plant by vibrating the flower and having the pollen fall on the anther. They're not pollinated as much from one flower to another. Or like a squash will have a male flower and a female flower, and you have to get the pollen from the male flower to the female flower. The tomato has it all in one flower. So what the bee does when it goes to visit the tomato flower or another flower that needs this, it vibrates its wings and creates the exact amount of vibration that causes the pollen to release.
That's crazy.
That was so interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. It's called, well, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's especially, so on the piano, when you play a C note, that is the exact vibration that's needed to cause the pollen to come and fall.
Oh, how cool is that? Nature.
Nature.
Tell you what, nature's
right?
something. Yeah.
Woo. But, yep. And we talked about that they do form their nests in the ground. I have a little picture that I'm showing Jeff right here.
Thank you.
And this information can be found in lots of different sources online. I was able to find a lot of this from the Texas A&M, which
good old Texas A&M site. Man, they got it all.
Right? We really go there. And so, yeah, I mean, I learned super
nice
information, and I'm really encouraged to look up some more.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
The while we're talking about A&M, on the AgriLife Extension site, and it's in cooperation with the Texas Beekeepers Association, there is a Texas Bee Identification Guide.
Oh.
And it was great because while I was sitting in the yard, we have this, I call it celosia. What else do they call it? They call it coxcomb, and we always plant this every year. Well, this year we had a plant come up it's really ugly. It's a nondescript color. I mean, it is not very pretty, but I've left it there because the bees love it. They have just covered that plant. And so I was sitting watching the bees, and I was trying to make an identification. What's this? What's that? And I saw this little bee come up that has green on its abdomen. And I think that is a mason bee that everybody gets really excited about and builds those hotels for, the bee hotels.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Anyways, I encourage you to go out there and look for your native bee identification guide.
Very nice.
The A&M AgriLife Extension website.
Oh, we are regulars on that site. That's a great site for Texas.
Yes.
It's a good Texas. I mean, in general too, but it's geared a lot for Texas, I believe. All right, cool.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yes.
The Buzz on Bees. Thank you.
Thank you. That is terrific.
Yeah. We had
See?
That's my role.
Witty.
I'm the Buzz guy. What else you got?
I was wondering if you had something for Jeff's Corner.
You know, I was going to talk a little, just not much, but flower photography.
Yes.
So, we try to get pictures out on the blog, and they're all pictures we take ourselves, and with the exception of the skunk. And I think I noted who the photographer was on that. But we do try to take our own pictures, and we've been doing it with the iPhone, and which is okay. I mean, the iPhone's a great tool. But I also have what used to be the Olympus company, which is now the OM systems. And I have an OM1, which is a small 4/3 camera. And it's light, it's small. And so when I've been doing photography for a while, and I started with Nikon, and I had all the Nikon cameras and all the lenses. And just to be honest with you, it's just so heavy, to try to carry around. They're great cameras, but if you're, I'm not 20 anymore, so they get heavy to carry around. And so, we traded all those in, and I went with the OM system, the OM1. It's a much smaller camera. It's lighter. And it's great for just being able to carry around in the backyard. I mean, you can literally go in your backyard and, for us, we can take pictures of flowers and plants and lizards and bees and butterflies. So I wouldn't, I just wanted to kind of mention that we do use the iPhone is so convenient because it's always there, and we do take the pictures. But there, if you get a chance to take pictures with a digital camera, I would encourage you to do that and just look at the difference, because you can really do a lot of cool things with a regular camera. So on the OM1, you can get a macro lens, which is we have a 60 millimeter macro lens, which allows me to get like right in close on any bug or any plant. And you can make some really fantastic photos with that, and you can blow them up. So that's, I'm the first one to admit it. I run out there with my phone just because I have it.
I know that is.
And it's hard. Yeah. It's a hard thing, it's like I got to go get the camera, but the camera's not big. It's a smaller camera, and it has interchangeable lenses, so you can do macro. You can, there's all kinds of lenses you can get for them. So that's one thing I want to do, is try to get back into doing that. I think I got a little lazy with the phone, but I've been disappointed a little bit, because with the phone, when you're trying to, kind of refine those pictures and through any of the programs, through, Adobe Lightroom or anything, it's just, there's not enough pixels or information really to do a lot of modification. Mm-hmm. So, it's fine if you're sticking it on a website, I guess. But we've had some issues with some of the ones when I just try to make them a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And the OM1 is 24 megapixels. It's not like it's a huge one. I mean, there's cameras out there now that are, 60 megapixel, which you can, really, really take the picture and really modify and edit. So I would just encourage you, if you have another camera, get out there and take some pictures. Just go in your backyard. Like I said, I can literally go in the backyard and get,
it changes every day.
Yeah, it does. I mean, like you said, I can get close-ups of the bees. I can get the butterflies, the lizards, all the plants and the flowers. So I'm going to try to take my own advice and take more pictures and get out there and do a little bit more with the real camera.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that. And, we would love to put out some blogs that are photo centered. And I want to see some of those photos on there.
It's interesting is on the blog, those photos that we put out are all, at this point, they've all been from the iPhone. Mm-hmm. And if you'll notice, the main photo on a lot of them, I've tried to, enhance, but there's just not enough pixels to do a lot too. So they're not great, but they're okay for a web page, obviously. But I do something a little different.
All right.
Like I said, you don't have to leave your house if you can. There's a lot of stuff just right there in your backyard or front yard or on your property to take pictures of. So I would encourage everyone to do that. And I'm going to encourage myself, and I'm going to encourage Mary to get out there and do some as well. So there's the gavel is thrown.
Ooh. Well, all right then. All right. The bar has been set.
It has. We're going to come out with some better pictures. That's our goal.
I love that goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to write that. I'm going to put that in writing.
Don't put it in the, oh boy, here we go. Okay. I'm doomed.
You're doomed. Well, yes.
That's what I had this week is photography. A little photography. Try and get back into it.
Well, if you have some sparkles, you were doing your sparkles, but
my sparkles? What is my? Is it this?
Yeah.
There you go.
I do have a interesting plant of the week.
Okay.
A short little discussion about the almond verbena.
Okay.
The other day on the porch, we had just gotten done with mowing, weed eating, edging, pulling weeds, trimming some plants, and wrestling with those huge weeds that I told Jeff to put your back into it. And it was, I don't know, it had to be 95 degrees.
It was hot.
Already. It was so hot. And I looked over at Jeff and said, honey, would you please come down here and smell this plant with me?
Okay, that is true. I would just sat on the porch like I'm done.
But like a good trooper, you came down into the yard, and I led you over to this plant that's it's not like spectacularly showy.
Not looking, yeah, but it smelled fantastic.
Wow. I had heard that it was a very fragrant plant to grow. And, this whole time that it's been taking off and growing and everything, this is the first year it's been in the ground. I put it in this spring, and it's, been okay. But the fragrance liked to knock me over with a feather.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Yes. So it is actually a native of Argentina. I did learn that. And it could get like maybe 10 to 12 feet tall. And you can prune it to shape it like you like. And also it can get like 3 to 4 feet wide. It's not going to be a screening type of plant. And it is deciduous, so you will have new leaves that come on it every year. So if it's for, blocking a view or something like that, no. But if you want to grow it somewhere near where you sit in your yard, so you can get that fragrance was dynamite.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Just beautiful. It is a pollinator attractor and hummingbird attractor, which is crazy because the flowers are so itty bitty. Mm-hmm. But yes, I would encourage people to grow an almond verbena if you live in our area. It's, what can I tell you about it? It likes to grow in very well draining soil. Now, with that being said, it's a young plant, and where it is growing, it does catch watering from our yard and our neighbor's yard. It might be getting a little bit extra water, but it says that it's not supposed to be a very heavy water drinker. Well, we'll see.
Seems to be doing good, though.
It seems to be doing very well.
It's gotten pretty big.
Yeah. And it's hardy in our area. So I encourage everyone to look up the almond verbena.
Yeah, we need to grow one closer to us on the porch or the deck so we can smell it better.
We do. We certainly
That's a
do.
challenge to you, Mary.
That's a challenge to me.
I'm laying the gavel down. All right, very good. What else you got?
And that concludes my ideas for the week.
Okay. Well, very formal there.
Very formal. Aye, mo kapatid.
Okay. Well, very good. Hey, as always, we appreciate you guys joining us here on our journey in our backyard. And we are putting these out weekly. So we would love to have you back next week. Same time, same place.
On Mary Bird's Backyard Garden.
Until then.
Happy gardening, and may all your seeds sprout.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.